strengths of our economy. According to the United Nations, in 2012, we were the #1 destination for foreign direct investment. We received $167 billion in FDI in 2012. By comparison, the 10 countries of ASEAN together received $111 billion, so roughly 2/3 of what the United States did. The size of our market, combined with our open, transparent, and accountable economy, makes us the favored location for foreign investors. Now, many think that we don't produce anything anymore, that everything is made in China. And certainly China is the leading manufacturer in the world today, but the US is still the 3rd largest manufacturer, and we produce mainly high-value, high-quality goods. With a steep drop in energy prices due to the shale gas revolution, manufacturers are now returning to the United States. Since 2010, the US economy has added more than 520,000 manufacturing jobs. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. The foundation of our economy is innovation, entrepreneurship, and risk-taking. Our ability to create new businesses and turn them into world leaders, in some cases, creating new industries, is second to none. And let me give you a few examples. How many of you use Facebook? A lot of people. Facebook practically started the social media industry, but it didn't really even start until 2004. By the time Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, President University was beginning its 3rd year as a university. And today, Facebook is one of the largest and most recognized companies in the world. How many of you have done a search using Google? A lot of you. Larry Page and Sergey Brin started Google in 1998. It is now the most visited website in the entire world, and they did that in less than 16 years. Those are just 2 examples. Others are great leaders as well. Apple in technology, Chevron in oil and gas, Pfizer in pharmaceuticals, Boeing in airplanes, Stanford and many other universities in education, General Electric in turbines, or Microsoft in software. Whatever the industry you are interested in pursuing as a career, I am sure you will find an American company as one of the leaders of that industry. And that leads me to my second point. Why and how does this matter to Indonesia and the Southeast Asia region? Our economic partnership with Indonesia is important to both of our countries. 2 of the 5 working groups in our comprehensive economic partnership, those on energy and trade and investment, are focused on economic issues that affect both of our countries. In 2013, we were Indonesia's 4th largest export market, and we were the largest buyers of Indonesian rubber products, clothes, shoes, sneakers, fish, coffee, tea, furniture, toys, and musical instruments, just to name a few. Now, does anyone recognize a pattern in all of those things? We are not simply buying natural resources from Indonesia like coal, but rather we are buying the most important labor-intensive manufactured products that are made in this country. In other words, many Indonesians have good-paying manufacturing jobs today because the United States is not only open to Indonesian exports, but a leading consumer of your exports. By some estimates, Indonesia exports to the United States account for 2.5 million jobs. Our economic... Let me just say also that we are not simply buyers of your products, we are partners. Since 1898, when the company that eventually became ExxonMobil began exploring for oil and gas in Sumatra, American companies have been major investors in Indonesia, creating jobs, bringing new technology, and providing social programs such as housing, education, and health services. According to a study that was conducted by Ernst & Young, Paramedina Public Policy Institute at the Gajah Mada University, American companies in the past 8 years have invested $65 billion into the Indonesian economy, primarily in oil and gas and mining and manufacturing. And if the business and regulatory environment in Indonesia is conducive to further investment, American companies expect to invest an additional $61 billion in the next 5 years. That's a lot of investment. There are almost 200,000 Indonesians who are working directly for American companies in Indonesia, and another 1.7 million jobs that have indirectly been created by American investment. Indonesians make up 95% of the workforce in American-owned companies, with many Indonesians in the senior management levels. And U.S. companies also pay a fair wage. The average wage of an Indonesian working for an American company is more than 2 times the minimum wage in Jakarta when it comes to investment. But they are doing a lot more than simply investing their money. They're investing in Indonesians. Large American companies here spend on average about $2 million per year on staff training alone. Think about that. How many scholarships to President University would $2 million a year fund? That is how many Indonesians are receiving work-related training to make them more productive in the workforce and more competitive in the global economy. We're also investing in Indonesian communities. Through corporate social responsibility programs around the country, American companies spend an average of almost $6 million a year to improve the lives and livelihoods of Indonesians. There are programs for almost everything, from people with disabilities, to scholarships for education, to entrepreneurship programs, creating small businesses, to improving health services and cleaning up the environment. In Balikpapan recently, I visited a batik fabric manufacturing facility that employs handicapped Indonesians and produces beautiful fabric. This facility was created and is now operated by Chevron. In East Java, near Surabaya, ExxonMobil has a program that is providing healthcare services, improving education infrastructure, creating economic opportunities, and supporting youth activities. How many of you have had a glass of water today? I bet just about every single one of you. And how far did you have to get that water? You probably had to walk maybe 10 meters, maybe less, to get that water. In a community called Enraho, residents had to walk 15 kilometers to get water for drinking, cooking, and washing. And under ExxonMobil's program, they built water towers and trained residents in its usage and maintenance, so they don't have to walk any further than you now to get water. The U.S. confectionery giant, Mars, that makes Mars and many, many other candy bars, operates a cocoa research facility in Sulawesi. And research completed there has led to an increase in cocoa yields per hectare by up to 5 times for a huge range of smallholder farmers all over Sulawesi. This has led to expanded output, higher exports, and higher incomes for more than 600,000 farmers in Sulawesi. This is why the growth of the U.S. economy and the success of American companies matters to the growth and success of the Indonesian economy and Indonesian businesses. American companies create Indonesian jobs, provide skills to Indonesian workers, and give back to Indonesian communities. And for the same reasons the health of the U.S. economy is good for Indonesia, it's good for Asia. Under President Obama's leadership, America is committed to our rebalance to Asia. The U.S. has deep ties to this region based on geography, culture, history, and business. The rebalance is based on the understanding that in today's globalized, interconnected world, we all have a stake in each other's success. Just like the success of the U.S. economy can benefit Indonesia, the success of Asia and Indonesia can benefit the United States. As President Obama said in explaining the rebalance in Australia, the overarching objective of the United States in the region is to sustain a stable security environment and a regional order rooted in economic openness, peaceful resolution of disputes, and respect for universal rights and freedoms. To pursue this vision, the United States is implementing a comprehensive, multidimensional strategy, strengthening alliances, deepening partners with powers such as Indonesia, building a stable, productive, and constructive relationship with China, empowering regional institutions like ASEAN, and helping to build a regional economic architecture that can sustain shared prosperity. Those are the pillars of the U.S. strategy, and rebalancing means devoting the time, effort, and resources necessary to get each one right. Here is what rebalancing does not mean. It does not mean diminishing ties to important partners in any other region. It does not mean containing China or seeking to dictate terms to Asia. And it is not just a matter of our military presence. It is an effort that harnesses all the elements of U.S. power: military, political, trade and investment, development, and our values. The centerpiece of our economic rebalancing is the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, an agreement between 12 Asia-Pacific economies from Chile and Peru to New Zealand and Singapore. The TPP is not an American-only initiative, but is built on a shared commitment to high standards, eliminating market access barriers to goods and services, addressing new 21st century trade issues, and respect for a rules-based economic framework. We always envisioned the TPP as a growing platform for regional economic integration. The vision is becoming a reality as the number of TPP partners has grown from 7 in 2009 to 12 today. The TPP is already a major step towards APEC's vision of a region-wide free trade area for the Asia-Pacific. The TPP is attractive because it is ambitious but achievable. It is intended to be an open platform for additional countries to join, provided they are willing and able to meet the TPP's high standards. But overall, the TPP is an absolute statement of the U.S. strategic commitment to be in the Asia-Pacific for the long haul. And this leads me to my third and final point. As the largest economy in ASEAN, Indonesia is an important economic partner to the United States and its rebalance to Asia, even if you are not yet a member of TPP. Just as Indonesia benefits from a growing U.S. economy, the U.S. can benefit from a growing Indonesian economy with a rising middle class. In my first 4 months in Indonesia, I've been impressed with a wide range of opportunities for investment here, your strong economic fundamentals, and your investment grade ranking, as well as your growing economic importance in groupings such as APEC and the G20. Indonesia sailed through the global financial crisis in 2008 and has transformed its economy since the Asian financial crisis in 1998. You are now the second fastest growing economy in the G20, and you have been for several years. All of this should make any Indonesian justly proud. But as they say when analyzing stocks, past performance is no guarantee of future results. With China's growth slowing, commodity prices falling, and global liquidity getting tighter, Indonesia will need to find new ways to sustain its growth trajectory and to ensure inclusive development throughout the country. The next administration will have many challenges: tackling corruption, improving rule of law, building infrastructure, creating jobs, increasing productivity and competitiveness, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, solving land issues, just to name a few. Indonesia is ranked 120 by the World Bank for ease of doing business. And that is too low to ensure long-term success, and far behind your competition in countries such as Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, and Korea. Similarly, Indonesia is ranked quite low and far behind in economic freedom, in restrictions on trade and investment, high levels of corruption, and an ineffective rule of law that have led to a mostly unfree ranking by the Heritage Institute. Now, a cynic might question the value of these indexes, but if you chart the GDP of countries with the ease of doing business and their economic freedom ranking, you will notice that the richest countries like Singapore are also the ones that score the highest in ease of doing business or economic freedom. But if you remember one thing from my speech today, it should be that Indonesia has the potential and has the ability to grow 6% or 7% or more every year in the future. You have tremendous opportunities and prospects. As famous consulting firms keep telling everyone, Indonesia has the potential to be one of the 5 to 7 largest economies in the world in 15 years, with rising influence regionally and globally. But Indonesia can no longer afford to only look inward for its growth. It needs to make structural reforms to move to the next phase of development. And the focus should be on creating a productive, internationally competitive, and labor-intensive manufacturing sector. Such a manufacturing sector should be export-oriented and not only focused on the Indonesian domestic market. To do so, Indonesia needs to do 3 things. First, it needs to improve infrastructure and improve connectivity. Roads, ports, rails, and power. Indonesia needs more and better quality infrastructure. Second, and related to infrastructure, it needs to reduce logistics costs. It is difficult to be an export-oriented manufacturing center when logistics costs are high.
Remarkable speech, His Excellency Robert Obleng Jr.
What a very knowledgeable topic, and I believe that all President University students now really understand about the topic.
Now, before we go to our next session, we are going to introduce our moderator of the day by reading his profile, as he will be the one who will moderate the question and answer session, and also will be the one who read the profile of His Excellency Robert Obleng Jr.
Eric Hendra is the Secretary of International Relations Study Program of President University, as well as a lecturer of international law and global politics. He graduated his bachelor degree from Parahyangan University in Bandung and received his master's degree from New South Wales University in Sydney, Australia. He also attended a training of peace and conflict studies on community conflict skill conducted by INCOR in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and joined a course on civil-military relations and strategic studies in Clingendale Institute for International Relations, The Hague, the Netherlands.
His field experiences with United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, or UNOCHA, from East Timor Crisis Project to European Union Declaration Project on Democratic Republic of the Congo in Africa, and some other projects. He is also active with other United Nations bodies, such as International Labour Organizations, United Nations Humanitarian Commissions for Refugees, and United Nations Development Program. With the United States Embassy programs, he is involved in anti-terrorism assistance programs, U.S. Department of State, U.S. Embassy Jakarta, and ISITOP of United States Department of Justice, U.S. Embassy.
Thank you so much, the MCs, for a warm and welcoming and read a little bit of my CV. So here I am. I'm going to serve you as the moderator for this lecture today. And first of all, before we start the Q&A sessions, I would like to invite the Honorable Mr. Darmono, with the founders, and as well Mr. Chandra Setiawan as directors, to come to the stage to accompany us here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are entering the second part of this lecture today. After we are here, a very interesting and informative speech from His Excellency, the United States of America Ambassador to Indonesia. And then, but before it, I want to remind you again what our MC already tell you. That for those who want to raise the questions, please state your name first and then make your questions straight and direct. Mr. Ambassadors will answer your questions directly. So it's going to be one question and directly answers by the ambassadors. But before that, again, to know the Mr. Ambassadors better, I would like to read a little briefly his profile here. So the ambassador, or Mr. Ambassador Robert O. Blake Jr., he just arrived in Jakarta last November. And then previously, Ambassador Blake served as Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs from 2009 to 2013. He also served as Ambassador to Sri Lanka and to the Republic of Maldives from 2006 to 2009. Prior to that, Ambassador Blake served in India, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt, and Nigeria, as well as holding several positions at the State Department in Washington, D.C. He received, for his educational background, he received his BA from a very prestigious university, Harvard University, and an MA from Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. So Ambassador Blake, his three lovely daughters, of course. So without further ado, I would like to open the session of question and answers. So there will be three users here going to help you with the microphones. So please raise your hands. For the first terms, I will give a chance for the 5 questions. Okay, one.
There is one question and one point that I would like to refer to Your Excellency. The first question, as we know that United States is so-called a superpower country, and how does United States keep their economic stable? Because as we know that you have also explained to us lately, United States is facing such a